That was Carl Thomas, Emotional. There's an old saying that says you never get a second chance to make a first impression, but yet consistently what we've seen through the justice system is that black people who are slain at the hands of the authorities need to. One thing that's fairly consistent about about Ahmaud Arbery, about the young man whose name escapes me who was killed in Aurora, Colorado, and Breonna Taylor, even George Floyd, is that the initial investigative bodies found nothing to see here. That in spite of how heinous or tragic or sad or unnecessary, that whoever's the initial investigators found nothing to see here. And that only after pressure do they mount a placatory investigation, like was done in the case of Breonna Taylor, and then either not charge or even exonerate the officers. It is because the prism that they view our lives to is obviously skewed. The same set of circumstances exist now that existed when those lives were taken. The same set of the same evidence existed, but why is it that investigative bodies have to change so that there's any semblance of justice meted out? Breonna Taylor, there are 4 officers who were involved in her killing, are now being charged with federal crimes, violation of her civil rights. And the circumstances under that indictment existed. They knew that those officers filed a report that wasn't true. They knew that they conspired to lie about it. They knew that that lie for a warrant for a man that didn't even live there, based on evidence they didn't have, caused someone to die. They knew. As a matter of fact, allegedly one of the officers is turning state's evidence and is a cooperating witness. So they all knew. Just like when you saw George Floyd die in the streets, the initial district attorney refused to prosecute, even though we all saw it happen. We all knew what happened. The young man in Colorado that was coming home was given a drug by EMTs and basically killed, poisoned, and murdered. They knew what happened, but it took another investigative body to finally see clearly the evidence. And when we look at what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, initially 3 or 4 investigative bodies said there was nothing to see. It was only when the defense attorney for the men who are now in prison for the rest of their lives for Ahmaud Arbery, and a jury that returned that verdict in less than a day. It was only when their defense attorney turned that into a local, he thought, sympathetic media outlet, and that media outlet showed it, and then the country was appalled, and then the Georgia Bureau of Investigations swooped in, and they were immediately indicted. As a matter of fact, one of the district attorneys, I believe she was later on indicted and found guilty. So what is it about seeing black men and black women slaughtered? What is it about seeing the very evidence that now existed that they are so blind to? Why is it that a young woman can inspire protests all around the world? Matter of fact, you had Mitt Romney marching hand in hand for Black Lives Matter because of Breonna Taylor. You had sports team wearing Breonna Taylor T-shirts. You have a law designed for Breonna Taylor. How do you make a law that no one goes to jail for? No one goes to jail for. Breonna's law involved people killing her, and no one was held liable for it until now. Why is it that at first blush you can't see what we all see initially? You murdered those people. Why is it takes 2 and 3 and 4 chances to see what we all know to be true? Those lives were snuffed out unnecessarily, and someone needs to be held to account. They say that you never get a chance to make a second impression, but thank God, because we're black and because of the circumstances that happen to us and the way that they see us, we need to. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. This is the Hughley Show.